Another important topic. This year alone, an unprecedented number of harmful bills impacting the trans community have been introduced across the U.S., and a handful of states have already passed laws that restrict trans student athletes from participating in sports.
So we want to discuss this now, the effects of this legislation. It's the first openly trans mixed martial arts fighter, FALLON FOX, and contributor from GLAAD, the world's largest LGBTQ+ organization, RAQUEL WILLIS. Thank you both for being here. And Raquel, I have to start with what we heard last night on that stage from the president speaking to transgender Americans, saying, and I quote, "I want you to know that your president has your back." How big of a deal was that statement?
I think it was very heartening for a lot of people in the trans community to hear the president really show support and this kind of idea that he's behind what we're going through right now. I hope that it's a signal to other lawmakers and public figures to speak up, because what's happening across states in this country against trans people and trans youth is just so disheartening right now.
And Fallon, I know that you have been very open about the prejudice you have experienced inside and outside of MMA. Talk a little bit about what you think the biggest misconceptions are about the trans community and sports.
I feel like some of the biggest misconceptions are that transgender people aren't who we say we are. Transgender women are women and transgender men are men. And I also feel that a lot of people feel that transgender women are invaders into women's spaces, but how can we be invaders into spaces that are already ours? How can we be intruders into spaces that are already ours? And I think this goes for sports also. I think another misconception is that we have an unfair advantage in sports, which isn't true. And for myself, I think one of the misconceptions is that I was hiding the truth about myself before I came out and fought in MMA, which isn't true. I told the California commissions and Boston commissions of my transgender status when they asked for me about it on paperwork. So the only issue that we had was with the Florida commission that didn't ask me about my transgender status on paperwork, which got cleared up later. So I was, people knew that I was transgender when I was competing in mixed martial arts, at least the right people.
Raquel, we've alluded to here a little bit, both of you, about these laws. And at least 6 states we have here: Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, South Dakota, West Virginia. At least 6 have implemented some kind of law or executive order limiting the ability for transgender youth to play sports. Is this, as we've discussed before, is this they're creating a solution to really a problem that doesn't exist, if you will? So is this really not about that, and really just about taking a swipe, if you will, taking another shot at the transgender community?
Yeah, I think that it's about trying to police the bodies, the experiences, and of course the identities of trans people and trans youth. And this has been a long time concerted effort from conservatives really to use trans people as scapegoats. I think that we have seen strides really for other folks in the LGBTQ community, particularly around marriage equality. And this is what they're making into kind of the hot button, I guess, cultural issue of our time right now. So we've got to be diligent on what this can mean in terms of the next presidential election and for many years to come. I really feel like this is just the start, and we've got to get our solutions in order to fight it now.
Fallon, this survey here is really disheartening from the Trevor Project. The National Survey on LGBTQ youth mental health found that more than half of trans and gender nonconforming youth surveyed had seriously considered suicide. And also, at least 15 trans and gender nonconforming people have been killed this year alone. What can we do about this from helping the youth who may want to harm themselves, and then also protect them from harm?
I think there needs to be a lot of awareness around transgender issues. People need to be aware of transgender people in a good way. We're just like everyone else, and we are who we say we are. And I think this epidemic of violence that is occurring stems from ignorance and hate, and we can't get into another level unless we get past that.
It's so important to remember. And we want to remind all of our viewers, speaking of this, if you or a loved one are struggling, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255, or you can text TALK to 741-741 for a free, confidential, emotional support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even if it feels like it. Please remember, you are not alone. We really want to thank Fallon and Raquel for that very enlightening conversation. We appreciate it. We appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.